Hi everyone, this is Rajiv. Welcome back on Aavriti once again. Today I am going to do a tutorial on how to use buttons for navigating the interfaces and presentations you create in Adobe Animate 2017. This tutorial is actually in reference with a query I received by Harpreet in one of my previous video tutorial, and I am very happy that I am able to be of some assistance here in this case. Now, to new viewers, I would appreciate if you can spare some time to check out my other videos. If you have any queries, please put them down in the comment box and I'll definitely try to address them with best of my knowledge. So, what I have here, if you look at the screen, is a setup in Adobe Animate, and I have already created few buttons. Now all 5 of these are buttons and I'm going to utilize them in this particular tutorial. Before we begin, I want to again make the objective precisely clear that here we are going to understand how we can utilize buttons for navigating through different point of timeline. Alright, so that's the thing, and what we will be doing here, we will try to make 3 different pages on the main timeline. We are on scene 1, this is the main timeline, and then we will make a slideshow and we are gonna put that on the home page, and we will try to navigate the slideshow by using these 2 buttons I have created. So I'll just test out the movie right now. We just have a single frame, and if you check out the library, I have pre-created these symbols: about me, contacts, home. These 3 are the buttons which I have aligned on the top left corner here, and at the bottom we have this next and previous button. So if I test out the movie right now and hover on top of the buttons, you will see that there is a little transition. The black turns into a dark gray, and here they turn into comparatively lighter gray. Alright, so these are the buttons we have. The very first thing I suggest you to do is to give them instance names, because the name you saw in the library are just for the reference, which can be utilized only inside the library while organizing the symbols. So what we will do, we will select the buttons and check out the properties panel, and the very first section says instance name. We need to give it an instance name, so we'll select it and I'm gonna type home underscore btn. Now btn is the suffix which I use all the time for distinguishing buttons from movie clips in the action script panel, and it is very handy. So I have developed a habit of it, and I really suggest you to also develop the same habit. So I'll type about underscore btn. I'll switch to the third button and type contacts underscore btn. Okay, now I'm gonna select this one and give it an instance name as well. It's going to be pre underscore btn, pre for previous. Now these names doesn't matter, but make it as significant as possible because it would be easier for you to recognize them in the action script panel. So I'll type next underscore btn. So all 5 of the buttons have the instance names now. I have also taken the liberty of creating a project folder inside which I have few images. Now these are the images which I did while making some photo manipulations, and you can find out these videos on my channel as well. Okay, so these are the images which I'm going to utilize in the slide. So I'll go back, and I have also saved this file, navigation using buttons.fla, in the same directory, and I'm going to upload all of it in the description. So if somebody wants to go through the exercise file, they can do so. Okay, so the next thing would be creating 3 different places on the main timeline corresponding to each of the buttons I have. So because these 2 buttons are going to go on the home page, so I'll just leave it there. I'm going to create the about me page Okay, and before I do so, we also need to make a structure in the layers panel for supporting these buttons. So how do we do that? We just need to select these three here and say Ctrl X on the keyboard to cut it. Now I'll create a new layer and give it a name nav, or we can just call it main nav because it's going to serve as the main navigation. And I'm gonna put all three of them here. So because I want to paste it on the same location, I'll use the shortcut Control plus Shift plus V, paste in place. Now I'm gonna cut these two as well, Control X, and make another layer, and I'm gonna contents. Now in this particular layer, I'm going to lay out my content for home, about me, and contacts at three different points of time in the timeline. So that's the idea here. And since the slideshow is going to be on the first on the main timeline, so I'm gonna put it here. So I'll say Control Shift V to paste it on contents layer, next and forward button. Now I'm gonna change this to background just in case if we require any background. And I'm not going to actually spend time in doing the layout here. So in the background, I'm just going to switch it to a different color when the user click on about me. So my main focus will be on connecting these buttons to specific pages, not designing the pages. Okay, so next thing is I'm gonna take two different approach, and I'll also try to justify why I have taken two different approach. Just trust me on this, it's useful, both the techniques are useful. So on the contents layer, I'm going to leave 9 frames, and on the 10th frame I'm gonna say F6. Now the moment I hit F6 here, these buttons continued. Okay, and I don't want it there, so I'm gonna delete these two buttons. And don't worry, because I have practically a blank keyframe, I could have just said F7 on the 10th frame and the result would have been the same. Okay, so on the 20th frame, I'm again going to say F6, since we have a blank keyframe here, so it will be an extension, a copy of the blank keyframe only. So it doesn't matter whether you say F7 or F6 right now, so F6, it's fine. So basically what I did here, I defined three different time spans. Okay, so from first frame to 9th frame, it's going to be home. So what I'll do, I'll put frame labels. Now please understand this is very important, so pay extra attention to it. This is instance name, this is name of the symbol, and the thing which I am about to assign these in the properties panel are going to be frame labels. So I'm just going to click anywhere in between the span means from first frame to 9th frame is going to be the span. And notice in the properties panel we have the first option to label it, and in the name I'm gonna write home. And if you have entered the text here, you'll realize there is a flag which comes on top of that keyframe, and home appears here on the timeline. Now this span could have been smaller, or even if just one single frame is there, we can still put a frame label to it, but I purposely wanted it to have that 9 frames so that I can see the home written here on the timeline, and it helps really a lot. Okay, so don't worry about it, we are not going to animate this entire thing, we are just making different locations on the timeline which can be navigated by using these buttons we have in the interface. So that's the purpose here. Okay, now the next span is going to be of about, so I'm gonna put again the frame label ABOUT about, and I'm gonna extend this 20th frame till 30th frame, and this point a 29th frame, or even 30th, that is fine, it doesn't matter. I'm going to hit F5 because I don't want another keyframe here, so I'm going to give it a name, frame label contact. So now I'm very clear just by looking at the timeline that we have different places where my content can be placed, and on the home span, we will call it span, on the home span we have these two buttons placed. Okay, now the main navigation is separate from the contents layer, and we need to have the main navigation present throughout the presentation. Okay, so we need to go to the last frame and hit F5 so that main navigation can be continued till the last frame irrespective of the page it is on. All right, and how I am going to distinguish the home from about is by changing the color of the background. So we do not have anything right now as background. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to make a rectangle. Um, okay. So I'm going to draw a rectangle exactly the size of the stage, and let's get rid of the outline. Okay, if it's not matching up the size of the stage exactly, then you already know the size of the stage. I have set it up to 800 by 500, so I'm gonna select this one and set up the x and y value to 00. What it does, it aligns the rectangle to the top left corner of the stage by setting up these coordinates. That's what we do. And I'm gonna break the link and then change the width to 800, tab out on the height and change it to 500 to precisely match it up with the stage. Alright, once I'm done, I'll just relink it. Now on the background layer, I want a lighter gray, in fact a white. Then on the about page, I'll say F6. Now what that does, it copies this rectangle on the about page as well, and I'm going to change its color to uh, medium gray. Okay, and on the contacts, I'm once again going to hit F6, and this time I'm gonna choose a darker gray. I purposely want it to be very subtle, and so that's why I'm keeping it in the grayscale so far, because we have few images for the slideshow which are vibrant and having so many colors. Okay, I'm gonna extend this till last frame, F5. Now everything is set up properly. Let's save the file and test out the movie. And right now if I test it out, you will see that at every 10 frames it changes color, because Flash has a tendency of looping its movie. So what is happening right now, it starts playing from the first frame. When it reaches the 10th frame, it changes the background color, and when it reaches the 20th frame, it does the same again. I'm just going to close it and come back to it and test once again, and want you to notice this time for how long these two buttons appear. Yeah, it goes away. It only comes when we have the first 9 frames playing up. Okay, so we definitely need to stop this automatically. The presentation is automatically playing, and we don't want this. So what we will do, we'll put up a stop on the first frame, and that we can do by making sure that the first frame is selected. Basically the position of the playhead is going to decide where the action is going to come. If we apply it from the code snippet section, and I'm just going to collapse it, and this is how it looks when you open it for the first time. So you expand the action script and go to the timeline navigation, and then select this stop at this frame. So I'm gonna double click here, and Flash Animate is automatic. I keep on calling it Flash because earlier it was known as Flash. I still have the same habit, sorry. So Animate will automatically write the script for us, and I'm just going to close the action panel. And now if I test the movie, I'm gonna have the interface which has 3 different buttons, and if I click on them, nothing is going to happen. Even if I click on previous or next, nothing is going to happen. Alright, so we have everything set up very nicely here. Now it's time to bring out those images we have here and create the slideshow. And for doing so, you can go to File menu, go to Import, and choose Import to Library. And here okay, browse to the place where you have all the images. Now I have already optimized these images in Photoshop so that it can be, you know, fitted well inside the presentation and without losing its quality. Maybe in some other tutorial I'll talk about why and how to optimize images for utilizing it in your Animate presentations, and it is very important actually. So I'm going to select all these images and it's open. Seems as if nothing happened, but if you go to the library you'll find all those images listed. Now the next thing, it's a very nice idea to have it organized. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create few folders here, and in these folders I'm gonna call it slide underscore home, because the slideshow is supposed to be on the home page. And I'm gonna select all these images and put it inside that folder. Now the next thing is to place them in the presentation, and we have not linked these buttons with different pages. And before I'm going to, you know, pull out those images here and start building up the slide, so let's lock the background layer quickly. I don't want to you know, harm it. Okay, so first we will connect these three buttons with different point of time in timeline, and it's very simple to do. I'm going to select the button here and then go to the code snippet. Okay, and look for event handlers. So expand this section, and we want a mouse click event. We will talk more about action script in some other tutorial. I don't want to make it lengthy, so I'll just, you know, double click on it and it automatically writes the script for us, and we just need to replace this statement. I'm just going to go through it once. It's saying home underscore btn is listening to an event which is a mouse event, and it's going to accept clicks and run a function for us. And function is defined in the next line, which again is an event, and a mouse event returns no value, void means nothing, and inside the curly braces we have the task. Now by default Flash doesn't know, Animate doesn't know what to do, so it just writes this script for us, trace under which traces mouse clicked in the output panel. We will talk more about it, don't worry. So we need to replace all of it with the thing which we want Animate to do for us. And in this case what we want it to go to and start with capital A and stop again with capital A. If it turns blue, that means you are going well. And then you start parenthesis, small brackets is known as parenthesis, and close small bracket and end it with the semicolon. Now we just need to pass on the value here inside and tell Flash that where to go to and stop. We want the Flash to go to and stop when the user presses home underscore btn to home span, and we can define that span here inside the quotation. Since it is a string value, we need to go with the quotations, and we will type out home. Now make sure that the thing you are typing here exactly matches the frame labels you have given, so double check it just in case. Now we have successfully defined and linked home button with the home span. Now it's time to do the same with the about. So I'll click the about, make sure that the playhead is still on the first frame, go back to the code snippet, double click on the mouse event, and once again it's going to write the script for you. And this time I'm just going to copy this line of code, Control C, and replace all of it with the thing I copied and change home to about. That's it. Okay, now the next thing I'm gonna do is same, but in this case I'm gonna select contacts and double click on this one. Since I have copied it already, I can paste it back once again, and then I can type contacts. Okay, it's contact. If I mistakenly type contacts, it's not gonna work. See, it's contact, and that's the benefit. If you can see it in the timeline, you don't have to again go back and click here and then check out the properties panel for the frame label, corresponding frame label. So this is one of the advantages of having 10 frames separation. So contact, fine, so it should work. Let's test out the movie. Control enter, and if I click on the about me page, the background should turn light gray and those navigation buttons should go away. Exactly the thing which we programmed it for. And then contacts, it's again turns into the darker gray. If I click on the home button, about, contacts, home. Okay, now there is this problem because this matches with the background color. let's just quickly fix it. I don't want it like that. So instead of the dark gray, I'll go one shade lighter probably. Let's test the movie. Go on the contact. Yeah, still the home is visible. Yeah, there is a change. There is a change. Perfect. Lock the background and come back on the first frame. Now, since we have successfully managed to link all these three buttons with different pages we have created on the main timeline, the second objective here is to create a slideshow and access the different slides with these two buttons. Okay, so here I'm gonna break this tutorial into the second part. Keep watching the videos I post and give a thumbs up if you like the content. Share it on your social media once in a while and do subscribe. That really fuels me up. Thank you so much.